Welcome to the fascinating world of the Grand-Prix de Trois-Rivieres, affectionately known as the Little Monaco. This is a short replay of the ASN Canada FIA Sports, the Motorola Cup race weekend in Trois-Rivieres.
Coming up next from Trois-Rivieres in Quebec, it's round number 7 of the Motorola Cup. Welcome to sunny Trois-Rivieres in Quebec for round number 7 of the Motorola Cup. A temporary street circuit, lots of concrete, and huge numbers of fans. Tom?
They've been coming here for years. In 1976, Gilles Villeneuve really launched his Formula One career when a driver named James Hunt noticed how great he was. In fact, he waxed James Hunt in 1976 in an Atlantic car. There's another driver named John Powell who won here in an Atlantic car in 1972.
Devin Powell's dad. Devin's remembering an old lesson. Brake management is crucial here. He and Mike Strong look at the brakes as Devin touched one of the barriers, damaging the car. Teammate Doug Goad knows the nuances of driving a street circuit like this one.
If you're worried, I can I don't have one stud zone.
Well, we all make mistakes. It happens. I made one earlier in the year. As John said, we just had a little team meeting, and he told each of the drivers, okay, all of you made a bonehead move once this year. That's enough. But, yeah, I had the car out early and brought it in hot. The guys called me in. There was about 10 minutes left in the session. And when you bring the car in and it's hot like that, the brake fluid boils. And unfortunately, we didn't pump the brakes. And he found turn 1 outside wall faster than he wanted to.
But it's a brand new day here at Trois-Rivieres, and the Powell Motorsports team's been working all night putting together the brand new livery for this Sunoco number 11 car. You know, all the cars in the Motorola Cup run on Sunoco 94 with ethanol. Here's Peter Lockhart.
Every teardown demonstrates just how really good this gasoline is for the motor. Obviously, these motors turn high RPM all day long. It's really hard on them, the heat and the wear factor. But, you know, we're experiencing an absolutely clean situation. The same type of situation you'd have as if you were running very expensive racing fuel. So we're elated to be able to use a pump gas, you know, with ethanol in it and have that kind of result.
The Ford Multimatic team is also experiencing a typical race weekend full of troubleshooting.
Well, we hurt the motor this morning, and we have to look forward to next week's 3-hour race at Mosport. This motor is done. We don't have a spare for today, so we had to make a decision to pull the car. Think about next week. We've only got less than a week to build this motor, as well as we heard a 5.8 this morning. We do have a spare 5.8 for the other car. So we will be backing our drivers down to Scott Maxwell and Jason Priestley running Saturday, and David Lacey and Jay Maloney running Sunday in the 2 cars instead of the 3 cars. But you've got to think long-term about your strategy and how you can keep the cars healthy for the 3-hour next week, as well as competing this week and doing well.
Well, Jason Priestley, the star of Beverly Hills 90210 perennially, off his first race win as a professional race car driver at Mid-Ohio, had a little trouble here at Trois-Rivieres as well.
Now we go on board with Jason. This is during qualifying, coming down the pit straightaway. Looks to the braking zone here, puts the pedal on the floor. There's no kind of brakes, throws it into the escape road, and has a real big coming together with the tires.
Well, guys, no brakes coming out of the pits. I put it in the top.
So Jason Priestley stating what is obvious to us, the fact that he put it into the tire well. Evidently the Multimatic crew have a big job on their hands tonight.
Scott Maxwell with the same problem. Oh boy, a huge hit at the end of the pit lane straightaway as the car ran out of brakes, and Scott didn't make that escape road.
An amazing hit as Scott Maxwell feels like he's been run over by a bus. He's all right. You'd be amazed at how safe these cars really are.
The Multimatic team, though, they're pulling an all-nighter. They cannibalize bits and pieces off the 45 to get the 0 car into shape. The team is really stretched to its limits.
And what does Scotty do? Sets pull.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty stiff, but nothing that I really feel in the car, so that's a break. But I'm just going to go back to the hotel and sleep for a while and get ready for the race.
So Scott's got a day to recuperate in the hotel room, and thankfully, by the way this guy is walking, boy, what a trooper. By 1/100th of a second for race number 2, Scott Maxwell will have the pole. However, there is lots more racing to come as we get ready for race number 1 of the weekend. John Heinrichsey on the pole, and beside him, actually, there's a space there where Doug Goad. Here comes Doug Goad now. What the heck's going on, Tom?
Well, the Powell Motorsport team was given some new Grand Sport calipers from GM Motorsports. Decided to put them on before the race, but found out almost too late that the darn things just wouldn't fit on the car.
Right.
So that car rolls onto the grid with the old calipers without the benefit of a lot of time being spent on bleeding them. So, hey, how many times has this happened? Heinrichsey next to Goad on the grid.
So, a full range of emotions on the grid for race number 1 here at Trois-Rivières. A rather flustered Doug Goad finally gets the 11 car up to the second place, and beside him, well, actually, the rest of the field a little impatient as far as they're waiting for Doug to make an appearance today. We are all set now for the start of round number 1 from Trois-Rivières. Welcome back for round number 7 from Trois-Rivières, Quebec of our Motorola Cup. We've got a great day in our hands and a great looking field.
Well, we're going to have an opportunity to get up close and personal with this circuit as these cars line up to take the green flag. Really, as we said before, a historic circuit, very busy circuit. Some people call it sort of a rhythm circuit, that if you don't have a good rhythm, you're not going to get a good lap. But really good laps by Heinrichsey and Goad as the green flag drops in the Grand Sports class, spreads out on the way down to turn number 1. Little paint trading there, Jim.
Hey, tight racing into turn number 1 as the cars for the first time make their way through the corner at speed right off the green. We've got a great battle for the lead side by side. I can't think these guys are going to get any closer than they are right now. The 2 Pontiac Firebirds, John Heinrichsey and Doug Goad. Goad falls now to second place as they go through the gate for the first time.
The Arc de Duplessis is the historic landmark here at Trois-Rivieres. It marks the tightest part of the racetrack, also the beginning of the long straightaway. We talked about it all season long. Brakes, the key here, and especially right at this place, where Heinrichsey is on the brakes, down 2 gears, and back into the rhythm section of this historic racetrack.
Boy, it looks like a very slippery racetrack as well. The conservation of the tires and the brakes going to come to the forefront before we're at the end of this contest here today, Tom. And already off the bat in qualifying and even in practice, a lot of the competitors are really having a tough time making sure that the brakes are cool enough that nothing boils, and we got people off the circuit already.
Well, the pressure at this racetrack to do well in this very tight part of their circuit is hard on everybody. As you can see, cars already running wide. We get another look at this to see exactly what happened. Oh, it's Doug Goad.
Doug Goad with a big off there, manages to put it back on the racetrack and not take anybody with him as he comes back on in a big hurry. This is going to be an interesting contest. Now, Doug Goad right up on the back bumper again of the 32 machine. John Heinrichsey, our race leader, down that start-finish line. This is going to be an interesting contest. Not only is it hard on brakes, but people with the pressure of the crowds and the stands and everything else trying to do a good job, obviously, is putting enough pressure on them that some people are making the occasional mistake out here, too.
All in all, a remarkable recovery by Doug Goad. Now, Jason Priestley into the tire wall. Jason Priestley trying to get that thing refired. As there's some movement in the cockpit, here is a replay of that incident.
Jason Priestley, the same place Doug Goad went off, slides it through the gravel, gets up in the grass, and he doesn't make it back out onto the racetrack. Gets it sideways and tags the tire wall hard. The Multimatic Motorsports team is having a terrible weekend.
Well, I'll tell you the difference there. Doug Goad, when he realized he was going off the track, hard onto the throttle, but Jason Priestley did not touch the throttle. If he did it at the very end, rode the brake all the way into the tire wall. The difference of experience.
Little squirrely under braking as we ride along with Jason Priestley. Watch how this one develops sideways through the grass and into the tire wall, and I'm afraid Jason Priestley's day is done right there.
I'll tell you what, that dog don't hunt no more. Jason Priestley relegated to the sidelines now, watching this battle. The number 32 car, the number 11 car, John Heinrichsey and Doug Goad. These two guys have been doing it for years, ladies and gentlemen. One more time through the arch.
Hey, running nose to tail, Doug Goad all over the back bumper of the Phoenix American Motorsports Firebird as they head back up the straightaway one more time. Doug Goad looks to the inside and drives by it pretty easy.
All right, that puff of smoke that you see coming out of the back of the 32 car there, probably indicative of a missed shift, and Doug Goad capitalizes on that with his momentum, and those 2 car lengths are the difference between P2 and P1.
Just a fraction of a mistake there as far as John Heinrichsey is concerned has cost him first place. Doug Goad coming back from that big off that he seemed to survive, and this is the result.
All right, you can see it right here, a little puff of smoke. That's all it takes, just a little miscue with the shifter, and Doug Goad goes steaming right on by. But you know what? This is a long race. There's still a lot of racing action to come, and sometimes sitting back there in the catbird seat like Heinrichsey is going to be doing right now is a good advantage.
Absolutely. It's entirely possible that some other strange things might happen. This racetrack is real hard on machinery and brakes in particular. We've noticed all through practice, all through qualifying, as we've got another problem out on the racetrack, as lots of other folks are jumping on the brakes and trying to slow cars down that that don't look like they want to stop very much more. Some problems out on the race circuit as the braking problem seems to be rearing its ugly head once again as we approach the middle stages of our contest.
Well, we saw a teammate to Doug Goad there. That is Paul Duckworth, who got by Kohler in the number 47 car.
Oh,
and now
boy.
these cars start to bunch up. Man.
Chris Thompson gets punted from behind, and it looks as though we've got another car. It's the Zippo Ford Mustang, the 47 of John Kohler, which has gone off as well. Kohler, he's been tagged too. He ended up in the tire wall, and he got run into from behind. John Kohler trying to straighten that car around, and he gets it. Paulo Del Chin tags the Mustang. The Mustang gets involved one more time. Paulo Del Chin gets hit from behind by Chris Thompson. The hood comes up on the Mustang.
What else can go wrong here?
That's about like all that needs to happen now is John Kohler has to have a couple wheels fall off, and the left front looks as though it's next.
All right, we'll hear it from John Kohler's point of view.
Oh,
bam! Paulo Del Chin arrives and gets on by. You know, the one thing we didn't pick up on that is the number 11 car.
How can he see? Boy, this has been the story of the race. John Kohler, the mechanical problems, and we watch another replay. He tags Chris Thompson. Thompson goes down the escape road. Kohler ends up in the tire barrier, and then it gets lots of fun. As we watch this one again, we watch Kohler come steaming into the corner, can't make the turn, ends up in the tire barrier. He gets tagged by Doug Goad.
That's what I was saying before. The 11 car actually got collected up in that. I don't know how bad Doug Goad's car is damaged there. Then Paulo Del Chin comes in and finishes the job. So, you know, it must be what it's like to be a pinball in one of those games. Now, the front alignment is off decidedly. Obviously, the lower control arm on the left side is broken there. Way too much negative camber. And then to add insult to injury, here's a pie in the face for Kohler.
That's about it. Boy, we've got all sorts of problems. And Doug Goad, in spite of the fact the hood is popped on the Firebird, the car really hasn't been too badly damaged otherwise. It's not very pretty to look at, but it seems to be just as quick as it was before.
Peter Lockhart steaming through our frame. With all the carnage, he's managed to hang on to P3.
The race leader, Doug Goad, the hood popped on the Firebird, but the car is still rolling, which is something you can't say for a lot of other people. We'll be back. Welcome back to Trois-Rivières, round number 7 of the Motorola Cup. Our race leader, Doug Goad, just going by one more time, and underneath the Duplessis arch, Goad's pace has dropped dramatically, as has just about everybody else's. This is a race of attrition, and that's about the only other way to describe it. John Heinrichs is still giving chase in the number 32 Pontiac. The 2 Firebirds still out front. John Heinrichs, a little misshift earlier on, cost him the lead, and now he is the car that is chasing the race leader. The race leader has been driving not without incident either. He's gotten into the back corner of somebody. He slid off the road at 1.2. Doug Goad not having a trouble-free race. And there goes the second place car.
Speeding through our frame one more time, the 32 car, John Heinrichs with brake problem. Oh, and then just manages to run into the wall. I was about to say he's the only car on the track without any evident body damage, but he's fixed that now. A little breathing room now for Doug Goad as he gets by his teammate, Peter Lockhart. A hurting car, but still good enough to lead this race in the late going.
Some smoke from the back of Peter Lockhart's Sunoco Chevrolet Camaro. The Chevrolet Camaro still runs in 3rd spot, although a lap down to the race leader. Down the front straightaway one more time. Doug Goad, the hood pop, the checkered flag comes out, though, and the race win for Doug Goad. Teammate Peter Lockhart finishes 3rd, a lap down to Doug.
So the story here, mistakes and brakes all the way through this. The brakes causing a big incident down at the end of the straightaway, carnage that included everybody. A rookie mistake by Devin Powell in qualifying. Another one by Jason Priestley in qualifying. Priestley makes another mistake during the race. It's been full of crash-em-up derby-style racing here at Trois-Rivières.
It's been a nasty one, that is for sure. The race winner, though, Doug Goad. 2nd place goes to John Heinrichs in the number 32 car, still having a tough time trying to drive around the last couple laps here without any brakes, or certainly less brakes than he had at the start.
One more look at what happened to John Heinrichs. In touch with Doug Goad in the number 11 car. Goad gets around the corner rather easily, but Heinrichs, well, you can see him right there, just goes steaming right through the frame. Tries to spin the car, not enough momentum, thinks about that for a minute, says, well, here's another way I can stop. I'll just plant that in the wall. Reverses, gets back out on the track, P2.
The results of race number 1, Doug Goad is our race winner, John Heinrichs 2nd, Peter Lockhart 3rd, John Churkin, the Acura, finishes in 4th, and 5th place goes to Jay Maloney.
The winning pair here, the Powell Motorsports crew, celebrating as this man, Devin Powell, will climb in this very same number 11 automobile and try another race tomorrow. Meanwhile, Powell Motorsports crew has bodywork.
just a little bit. Our StarTech Star of the Race Award goes to our race winner, Doug Goad. The only bodywork damage that car has to have repaired is due to being backed into by a Ford Mustang.
And that doesn't happen every day.
That's for sure. We talked to Doug after his win.
Wasn't without incident. What happened to the hood?
Well, right there at the end, the 47 car went and redistributed one of the other cars at the back of the long straight, which would have been fine for me, except that he forgot to turn left. He went straight into the wall, bounced right in front of me, and there was nothing I could do. We were lucky that I hit him in a corner, glanced off. I just kept driving, and pieces were flying off the car, but we finished. Once another Sunoco Powell Motorsports car came through, it's a good job.
The StarTech, the new V-Series of phones, makes for a great stocking stuffer for Christmas. Here's Motorola's Doug Goad.
V-Series phone features a phone book that can contain up to 99 names and numbers. It's also got its own answering machine, and it's got a silent vibracall alert that can be set to ring or to vibrate when an incoming call comes.
Some real happy folks up on the podium here at Trois-Rivières, and this is only the first of a two-race weekend. We'll be back with round two. Welcome back for the second half of our race weekend here in Trois-Rivières, Quebec. It's a gorgeous sunny day, and we've got a huge crowd on hand, and some new faces too, as John Heinrichs does a little coaching.
Kind of a celebrity driver out of Trans Am. They call him the Big Kazaka from Minnetonka, Minnesota. This is Leighton Reese. He had some specific instructions from Joe Aquilante.
Well, we're helping John Heinrichs out in a ferocious points battle here. And the strategy is a little complicated. I don't understand it completely. I'm going to go out there and see if we can take some points away from rivals.
And as we saw earlier, a big crash in practice for Scott Maxwell. He got back into another car and put it on the pole. The zero car will start from spot number 1 today.
Well, starting right next to him, the number 11 car, which did so well yesterday under the handling of Doug Goad. That is now Devin Powell in that car.
Leighton Reese is going to start in the 32 car, which finished second yesterday. At the wheel, John Heinrichs. However, Leighton has been hired to see how many points he can steal away from Devin Powell and Scott Maxwell in this contest.
The 89 car next to him is Jocelyn Hebert, another hometown guy. Looking forward to a good result. Paul Duckworth and Bob Meyer fill out the top 6 in the grid behind them. Touching early in the going.
Little bumping and weaving coming down the start-finish line as the green flag flies. Scotty Maxwell and Devin Powell touch each other into turn number 1. Scott drives to the inside. Devin Powell, though, with a head of steam, takes over first spot.
This is the view of turn number 1 from Leighton Reese's car. He doesn't understand exactly what he's doing here, but he understands where the loud pedal is, and he's doing his best to catch up and buy Scotty Maxwell.
Scott Maxwell drives to the inside in corner number 1, steals away and secures his second place in corner number 2. Underneath the Duplessis arch for the first time at speed. Over the shoulder of Scott Maxwell, who runs in second place in the 5.8-liter Ford Mustang. The car going down that back straightaway in behind the yellow Sunoco Firebird of our race leader, Devin Powell. As we watch a car fall off the end of the back straightaway on lap number 1. Lots of action here already.
That's Bob Meyer in the number 88 car. He just went steaming down there. Looks like he didn't really have any opportunity to make that left-hand turn. You know, there's a lot of questions to be answered here. Is Devin Powell's car in good shape after that shunt that involved Doug Goad last time? Looks like his hood is coming a little bit. Now, Scotty Maxwell's car, that's not in great shape either. And the big question, Jim Martin, is in Scotty Maxwell. What kind of shape is he in?
If it was anybody else, they would still be in the hotel room trying to sleep that one off, because Scott Maxwell is the sorest race driver I've ever seen. A great battle here for third place. Leighton Reese trying to hold on Jocelyn Hebert in that 89 Chevrolet Camaro. Maybe a little bit of contact into turn number 1 as they've got a pitch battle going on now.
Now Jocelyn Hebert. Oh, he goes through around the outside. Now, here's what happened. Leighton Reese, a Trans Am driver, would normally grab second gear going down into turn 1. He did that, played off all his momentum. Jocelyn Hebert goes steaming right on by.
So Jocelyn Hebert has stolen away third spot as we watch the race leader go back up the straightaway one more time. Devin Powell has this one pretty much well in hand. Scott Maxwell, again, with maybe not a great race car, he's certainly not in the best of shape physically. And we've got another incident out on the racetrack as Dave Dietrich and Mark Craig have a little coming together. The sport class Honda Prelude and the compact class Hyundai Tiburon have a little coming together out there.
Well, back up front now with Devin Powell. As you said before, he seems to be able to drive away a little from Scotty Maxwell, and the pair of them are driving away from the number 32 car of Leighton Reese. Now, just ahead of him is the 89 car of Jocelyn Hebert, followed by 7, that's David Lacey, 79 is DeFontes, 28 Neville, and 39 is the man we know only as Rael.
There's still lots of racing to go, and we've got some real close quarters racing going on. We'll be back with more from the Motorola Cup round at Trois-Rivières in just a moment.
Welcome back to Trois-Rivières for the Motorola Cup round. This is North America's Street Stock Championship as we go under the Arc du Plessis. One more time, a big train of grand sports car. The 79 car is DeFontes, then 32 of Reese, 39 of Rael, and 28 of Neville. Big long train.
Hey, there's a great big freight train going down that back straightaway. Probably the best battle are two teammates. Leighton Reese, who's supposed to be, well, helping out his friend John Heinrichs in this points chase, and Rael, who may not have heard those team orders, who is really harassing him from behind there.
Well, one thing you can count on Joe Aquilante to do is bring a lot of cars to the track. Rael, well, he's a rental driver. John Heinrichs needs some help in the points, so Joe Aquilante came up with a strategy for Leighton Reese that's so complicated, Reese doesn't even understand it. But the man up front, the number 11 car of Devin Powell. You know, this team has come so far in a relatively short season so far. They started it with a brand new engine at Daytona. They had their problems, but they managed to score a podium finish all the way along. In Toronto, big breakthrough. They got their first pair of wins with Doug Goad and Devin Powell responding. Now, these guys really look untouchable.
Absolutely. They're firmly in command of this one. As we watch that little battle going on once again, Rael just behind Leighton Reese as Mike DeFontes in the 79 car goes around one of the back markers, one of the compact class Mazda Miatas, underneath the bridge one more time. Here comes Rael up beside Leighton Reese and steals away the spot. That's got to be a tough place to pass. It's the narrowest piece of the racetrack.
Well, I don't think Reese was really expecting that, especially from his teammate, but it looks like Rael carries a little bit more momentum down that straightaway. Reese happy to sit back there and wonder what's going on. You know, it's got to be a big transition to go from a Trans Am car into a Pontiac Trans Am, which is essentially a showroom stock car. So Leighton Reese coming to terms with that car, probably having the time of his life.
Hey, Leighton Reese is having a lot of fun, but as far as that team order thing, well, that might be a different story altogether. Whether Joe Aquilante's having fun watching this race may be a different story. Rael, though, out in front of his teammate in the 32 car, the 39 machine just out front, sponsored by UFO Land from Valcourt, Quebec. And we watch him as, well, Rael's driving the wheels off that car. And the way we've seen this racetrack eat up the brakes on the bigger machinery, I wonder how long he's going to be able to keep up that pace.
Well, Rael, the head of the Raelian church, which is all based upon alien abduction. Well, we don't want to get too far into that. This is the number 89 car. This is Jocelyn Hebert doing a great job in front of his home crowd here at Trois-Rivières.
Jocelyn Hebert putting on a good show, as is the other yellow car in this field, the yellow number 11 Sunoco-sponsored Pontiac Firebird of Devin Powell, who is still managing to stay out in front of Scott Maxwell. Scott's been in touch with him through the entire contest, and it now looks as though the zero car of Scotty Maxwell may be starting to eat into that lead just a little bit.
Remember, both of these cars took a fairly significant lick earlier in the weekend. As we go to some back markers here, we're going to see this. Oh, this is David Dietrich, I believe, running down the escape road. Remember, he was the one who came into a clash with the number 6 Hyundai Tiburon of Mark Craig.
A great piece of decision making. You know, am I going to try to make this corner, maybe not make it, or will I take the escape road? Dave Dietrich goes for the latter, and it looks like a good decision on his part.
The moment of truth, as drivers all call it. Can I make the corner or take the safe way out? Now this man, Paul Duckworth, a lap down, his car is smoking. Remember, he made that same decision in Toronto, may not have been the right one. Now, the Powell Motorsports entry, car number 11 of Devin Powell, crosses the start-finish line. One more time, you can see the hood is slightly up there. Now, those of you who are used to seeing cabs in the summer, that's not the whole deal here. That car had a pretty bad nosebleed, and that's the best the Powell Motorsports crew could do to bring that one back. Meanwhile, he's working traffic, looking in his mirrors occasionally to see Scott Maxwell. Remember this one from before?
Absolutely. This looks real familiar. Devin Powell, though, hanging on to first place. All of the teams really doing a tremendous job here, especially when you consider the kind of carnage that these cars have gone through. The wheel-to-wheel team doing a great job with Devin Powell's car. Now, the hood isn't 100%, but it's a lot better than it looked the other day. Scotty Maxwell, the Multimatic Motorsports team, had just had a nightmare of a weekend. And for Scott Maxwell, let alone that car, to finish this race, is certainly a testament to everybody involved with that squad.
He is definitely one sore puppy. Now, the battle between Rael and Leighton Reese has swapped positions again. The 32 car now ahead of the slightly weird driver of the 39 car. Now, we mean that in all good faith, and Rael is a lot of fun to have on a racetrack. So these two guys in Joe Aquilante's Phoenix American Motorsports team having the time of their lives.
Hey, this has turned out to be the best race of the entire contest, and here comes Rael up the inside, looks to the inside anyway, decides better of it. Rael and Leighton Reese going side by side as we've got a car off in that corner. It's the lime green neon of Guy Lahaye.
He tried to go down the escape road, really didn't make that decision all that well. Escape road track, in the middle of that is a tire wall. That's what he hit. You know, you tend to hit what you're looking at. No doubt in my mind that Guy Lahaye had his eyes on those tires.
And the reason I think that Rael decided better of trying to make the pass there is because of the waved yellow for Guy Lahaye's neon. Nonetheless, the race leader down the straightaway one more time. It hasn't been a perfect weekend for any of these teams, but as far as making the best of what might have been a little less than 100% situation is Devin Powell in the 11 Pontiac Firebird, who seems to have run just a conservative enough race to make sure that he's got a good race car underneath him when the checkered flag rolls around and we're getting close.
Well, we checked in with the patriarch of the Powell Motorsports team, John Powell. And of course, we mentioned earlier in the show that he actually won a race back here in 1972 in his Atlantic car. We talked to him about it, and he said, first of all, survival. This race is always about breaks and mistakes, and it came true. I mean, everybody here has made at least one boner, and a couple of them have made more than one boner. It's always been about attrition here, especially with showroom stock cars. His son, Devin Powell, who has entered professional racing in a big way, teamed up with Doug Goad, the wheel-to-wheel racing crew, combined forces with the Powell Motorsports team. They had a bit of a slow start, but always finishing on the podium. This is the team to beat now in the 1998 version of North America's Street Stock Championship, the Motorola Cup.
They didn't get off to a great start, but they had a whole bunch of podium finishes, and now they found the winner's circle, and it looks as though it may play into their hands once again today, but we still have a couple laps to go, so we'll just see what happens. There's lots of racing out here at Trois-Rivières, and this racetrack has a tendency to reach out and bite you.
This is the battle for position number 5, the number 94 car, today driven by Paul Duckworth. Yesterday finished third at the hands of Peter Lockhart. This is John Shirk's regular ride, the number 28 Acura NSX. This all-aluminum car makes a great race car. Mike Neville running out of the Ottawa area in Canada. Now, this is kind of an interesting dichotomy. You've got your big American muscle car against your Japanese, more finesse racer. Duckworth and Neville going hammer and tongs for position number 5.
Great battle out on the racetrack as we approach the final couple of turns as we watch our race leader one more time come back toward the start-finish line. Scott Maxwell sliding the Mustang around now, seeing if there is any way he can make up that last few feet to really make a race out of it, but he's going to run out of time.
In the meantime, the poise of the young Devin Powell. Just amazing. This 21-year-old kid is racing like a man 20 years his senior. The poise, the confidence that this kid has brought to Motorola Cup racing this year has been really impressive.
Now as the teams breathe a sigh of relief, they've made it through race number 2 at Trois-Rivières. Devin Powell, the race winner. Scott Maxwell, a great second place. Jocelyn Hebert, third. And here comes a race winner once again. Devin Powell, the number 11 Pontiac Firebird, in along pit lane to another bunch of smiling faces, including his father, John.
Well, John Powell standing by looking at this whole thing along with Doug Goad. Doug Goad and Devin Powell, the co-leaders of the Motorola Cup after round 7 in the Grand Sports category.
In sports, Mike Fitzgerald with 158 points, a commanding lead after this round.
Well, what a great weekend for Paulo Del Chin, who manages to pull on the lead in the standings in touring class for Linder and Dietrich.
And in compact, it's Mark Craig with 172 points in his Hyundai Tiburon. We talked to our race winner after he got out of the car.
It was tough. I don't know. Knew Scotty would always be there. These guys, I tell you, the whole Powell Motorsport team did a fantastic job with this Pontiac Firebird. It's a little ugly today, but it ran superb. You know, I can't thank Sunoco and Wheel to Wheel enough for their assistance. All the guys with the flatbed truck, even the guys off Terry McDonald's team, they came down and helped. It was just fantastic.
Today's telecast brought to you by Motorola. Take off and take your world along for the ride.
And by Dunlop. Handle it with Dunlop tires.
And by STP Products. The edge in high performance. Get your car into STP shape.
An absolutely gorgeous day here at the Grand-prix de Players at Trois-Rivieres. Great podium scene. We'll be back to wrap things up right after this.
Here we are.
Like and follow for more.